Good afternoon. My name is Jose Roman, and this is going to be Karen Horney's rebuttal. Just a couple of things that we're going to be going over today is oral fixation and anal fixation, childhood amnesia and how it applies, how neuroticism affects us, and how it applies to Karen Horney's theory. Oral and anal fixation. Oral fixation is the belief that if you don't get breastfed enough or get breastfed too much, you may develop an oral fixation that causes you to constantly chew on things or have things in your mouth. It was also believed that because you had to rely on your mother for food, this was led to having trust issues along with anger issues or aggression. Anal fixation is the belief that when potty training started too early or too late, it could cause a child to be stringent, orderly, rigid, or even obsessive. Freud also believed that if you used positive reinforcement for potty training, your children would become competent, productive, and creative adults. However, parents who scolded their children for accidents or mocked their children would cause their children to develop messy, wasteful, or destructive personalities. How oral fixation is outdated. According to Dr. Mark Rigo, Freud's theory of oral and anal fixation is an outdated ideal that no longer applies because there is no evidence that these developmental processes and thus fixations exist. It basically means there's no proof. Two examples of why Freud's theory of psychosexual stages of development is inaccurate and outdated. The first is pica, is an eating disorder that is usually developed because of underlying medical issues. A perfect example of this is when pregnant women will sometimes develop an urge to eat dirt when their iron levels are low. This would mean that Freud's theory was flawed because he thought eating disorders came from an oral fixation. Next is smoking. Smoking is caused by many reasons, from peer pressure to curiosity. However, the addictive properties found inside of the tobacco is what keeps people coming back for more. This was not even discovered until 1983, long after Freud, and this would mean that Freud's theory was inaccurate because he thought smoking had to do with an oral fixation, when in fact it was just addictive. It also proves Karen's theory because she also believed that we're a product of our environment, and our environment also includes the time frame that we grow up in. So things obviously are way different. We know much more now than we did when Freud was around. So now we know why people smoke, and we know it's not because of an oral fixation. How anal fixation is outdated. Anal behavior is the behavior we use to scare off anxiety by making it look like there is order. The anxiety comes from a sense of impending chaos, and we experience anxiety and impending chaos throughout our entire lives, not just when we're children. Three examples of why Freud's theory of psychosexual stages of development is inaccurate and outdated. Um, Obsessive compulsive disorder is not fully understood according to the Better Health channel, but none of their theories follow childhood potty training issues. However, researchers have recently pinpointed OCD to be abnormalities in neurotransmitter systems of the brain. Next is post-traumatic stress disorder, could also be considered as an anal retentive disorder. PTSD is developed through seeing or learning about events involving actual or threatened death, serious injury, or sexual violation. So obviously not something that happened as your child before you could even remember it. It's definitely something that happens to you throughout your life. And then, of course, we have phobias are also anal retentive disorders. Uh, Research suggests that genetic and environmental factors are the source of phobias. So it's not something you learn when you're a kid. It's just something you learn over time, or actually possibly through genetics. Childhood amnesia and how it applies. According to Freud, the personality is mostly established by the age of 5. If that is true, then how is it possible that we lose all memory of what has happened to us as an infant by the ages of 6 to 9? Recent studies have shown that children experience childhood amnesia from ages 6 to 9. This means that we all forget what happens to us as infants. For example, I could drown in a pool at the age of 2, and I won't remember it as an adult. While feelings of anxiety, avoidance habits, and feelings of dependence can stifle a child's ability to learn. So can many other things. So keep that in mind. How neuroticism affects us and how it applies to Karen Horney's theory. The reason Karen developed her theories was because she thought that we were all products of our environment and that we all had different environments because we lived in different times. For example, poverty was something that affected those during the Great Depression, while our generation lives in a land of opportunity. Sigmund Freud was born in 1856. His education was some of the most brilliant minds in the world, and his opportunities came simple. But if you look at Karen Horney, who was born 29 years later and had to fight to educate herself, I mean, if Karen had been born at the same time frame as Freud, she would not have been allowed to study, and her abilities to learn would have then been stifled for sure. In summary, Sigmund Freud's theory on psychosexual stages of development are outdated. Karen Horney's theories of neurotic needs is more applicable to all scenarios in recent studies. Below I have a list of references that I've used in today's presentation. Thank you so much and have a great day.